Hello, hello. It's Tuesday evening. It's our last Tuesday in December of 2021. Can you believe it? Where did this entire year go? I can't complain though. Completely ready to welcome in 2022 and hope that it's better than 2021 or 2020. I hope you guys are doing okay tonight and have had a chance to relax today. I am just making sure right now it looks good. It looks like we're streaming in all three of the normal platforms, which is Seriously Sweet on Davis Street, Cookie Snack Attack with Seriously Sweet, which is a private group. It's going to our YouTube channel, which is seriouslysweetcupcakes.com. I would love it if you guys would subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's the next thing we're working on. And invite a few more friends to the Cookie Snack Attack group. We're like this close to 1,800 people in the group. Isn't that fun? Hi, you guys. How are you tonight? So I did not have a specific cookie planned for tonight, but I thought I would show you how to do an abstract design on just a basic shape for tonight, since we did our remembrance cookies this morning. And in doing that, I thought it might be handy to go ahead and bring in a few royal icing transfers. So most people think royal icing transfers are only the transfers that you create on the flat sheets of paper with putting parchment or something on top of it, to pipe a specific design. But really anything that you're making and then transferring to put on the cookie is a royal icing transfer if it's made with royal icing, right? So tonight we're going to work on, I'm going to show you these. I piped them a little bit ago. The icing was good. So hopefully what I'm going to show you tonight is how to do toothpick roses. Hey, you guys, let me just say hello to a few people before we get started. Hello there. Hello. Hi, Allison. I'm glad you made it. I didn't see you earlier today. I was hoping everything was okay. Hi, Miss Deborah. Hi, Debbie. You're working on Grinch cookies? I can't wait to see them. That was such a great box. Hey, Kathy, how are you tonight? Myra, how are you? Let me see. What is that? Hi. Hello, Facebook user. Let's see what this is. I need to do that still. Is it still allowed or should I don't know what that is, Allison. What did I say that you put that up? Tell me what you need. Hi, Lori. Hi, Sandy. Hello, Miss Judy. How are you doing? I hope everybody's okay. Hi, Elizabeth. It's good to see you guys back tonight. I was worried I might have depressed you too much this morning. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Rhonda. How are you? Hi, Karen. Hey, Pamela. How are you doing tonight? Hey, Mary Ellen. I just read your post. I haven't had a chance to reply yet, but I'm so sorry. So sorry all of that's happening. You're going through so much. Okay. That's awesome, Allison. Hey, Karen. How are you doing? Awesome. I'm so glad you're here with us tonight. Hi, Jane. Jane, this is a new name. I don't recognize your name, but welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm doing better. I'm doing better. I worked on a lot of things for you guys today and just stayed focused and plowed ahead. So, hey, Mary Ellen, we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it. I can't tell you how or when. Those two things seem to be quite elusive to answer for people these days, but we are. I do feel confident that we are. Oh, the Grinch cookies. Sure. Why can't you make Grinch cookies after the holiday? And Allison, just for you, I was thinking about making pink Grinch cookies for Easter. I'd given him some bunny ears because I was playing around with designs to Franken cookie for Easter time this year. So what do you think about that? What do you think if we make a Mrs. Grinch and make her pink and maybe give her some funky bunny ears and some big red lips? That would be hilarious, wouldn't it? Hey, Mary Jean, how are you? Hey, Barbie, how are you doing? So good to see you guys. Okay, so Elizabeth, you'll have to message him for like specifics of what's supposed to be in there. But there were two different Grinch boxes. If you were like one of the early birds, if you were one of the early birds with the Grinch box from Timbo, there was extra things in the box, and I got one of those boxes, and I know I got one of those boxes because it was wrapped in special Grinch paper. So I'm not sure what was in my box was extra that I got for being one of the first people. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody else is on with the regular box and wants to post a picture, it's okay to do that in the group because Timbo a lot of us take classes from Timbo, so he would be okay with you posting in the group if you had a photo you wanted to show. Hey Sally, how are you? Allison, I really oh, but to answer maybe one more part of Elizabeth's question, I think everybody's boxes came with one Grinch cutter, and then it had the info where you could order additional Grinch cutters from Shay B, I think. A bunny Grinch. Would that be so funny? I think it would be great. And pink, we do make her pink. I think it'd be hilarious, but we'll see. if she if she turns out, we'll see. But I did go ahead and order all the cutters since they were from Shay B, and I like her cutters. So I'm gonna work on that. Yeah, and it doesn't, but we are, Mary Ellen. We're gonna. Hey Kat, how are you tonight? Debbie is saying yes, one cutter. Everybody got one cutter. Oh, Mary Jean. Okay, yes. Okay, so let's put a post in the group. I think that's perfectly acceptable to put a post in the group if you have a prayer request. And his name is Mark, right? I think I have his name right. And yes, let's cover him in prayer. That would be awesome. Yes, and okay, so I'm not sure who this is, but Shay B does have the other cutters because there was three shapes. I mean, you can hand cut them with the templates, but I'm not a big hand cut cookie person because if I'm going to take the time to learn how to make the cookie and then try to mass produce the cookie, I'm seriously not going to be hand cutting a whole bunch of those cookies. Now, if it's just something because I'm teaching a technique or something, that's cool. But I love that he spreads out his cutter with different companies when he releases kits. So Mark is Mary Jean's husband, and he has COVID. Mary Jean, are you okay? Do you feel like you've been exposed? You feeling okay? All right. Okay. Yes, you're right. I didn't know your mom was at your house. I didn't know she actually lived with you, and you're right. She doesn't need to catch it. So I'm sure you're isolating and keeping everybody in separate rooms. So keep doing all the. Okay, good. Well, just stay fine, Mary Jane. Maybe your mom's just going to stay fine too. Whew. I know it's certainly been a rough week for everybody. I mean, who are we kidding? It's been a rough 2.5 years. 2 years? 2 years. It'll be 2 years in February since all of this got going, but it's going to be it's going to be over. I mean, it's going to be longer. It's not over yet. Okay, so let's jump back into this. So earlier today, I mixed up colors. These are the colors roughly. They're not exactly, but they're roughly the shades that we're going to be using for our Valentine class that I'll be selling. So this Saturday, I think it's this Saturday, there will be 40 kit boxes released. Yeah, so whoever this is saying stay vigilant, get Mark isolated. Yep, and just, I know you guys are germaphobes just like I am because you're bakers. See, this is why I never worry about saying things to you all like wash your hands, sanitize, blah, blah, blah. Because if you've ever taken even one food safety course, you're never the same again once they show you all of that. Like, I thought I was a clean freak before I started in the food industry 20 years ago. After I took my first food safety course, no one could stand to be around me because I had to clean and clean again and clean everything. And that was at not just the bakery or the candy store, but that was at the house too. Like anything to do with food or whatever. It changes you. That's all I can say. If you haven't taken one, even if you don't have to take it because you're not certified, you should take one just so you understand what I'm talking about, because quite frankly, it's scary. Hey, Maggie. I don't know. They might have done an update again today, but I'm glad to know that's you. All right. So don't let your guard down, anybody. Just keep trucking along in the right direction. So we have our rosettes, which I piped earlier so that they could be setting up so I could show you that they are not fragile. That's what I want you to take away from this, okay? I'm going to grab a bowl, just one of my regular mixing bowls. Oh, and also I was going to say this Saturday, 3 p.m. I think I'll do it at 3 p.m. again, so West Coast people have a chance. Wait, this is funny. Better that way. Called Gianna Germs pre-COVID. Now who's prepared? I know. I mean, we're prepared. And nurses, there's tons of nurses in this group. Hospital grade cleaning agents in my house. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes. It did change everything and all of that. How we do everything. It is a horror movie, Allison. I promise you, it'll scare you. Then you're like, I used to watch food shows, when they first started doing the food. Yes, Clean Freaks. Hey, Patricia. So when the reality food shows first started coming out, so I would visit my sister and brother-in-law, and Becky's saying 34 years as a nurse, so she uses hospital grade everything. So when those shows first started coming out, I had already been in the food industry maybe, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years at this point when those shows started releasing. So I would visit my sister and she'd be like, oh, let's watch this. And so she'd put something up like on Food Network or somebody that was streaming on YouTube and doing food. And I would just sit there and cringe until I try to be good because it would ruin it for her. But I was like, they would never do that in the real world. Do you know how dangerous that is? They would never be baking like that in the real world. That's not how we do it. That's not safe. What they're doing and that tool they're using, that contains all kinds of bacteria. Don't ever buy anything from someone that shows you stuff like that, right? Then my sister's like, just one day she just muted the TV, paused it, and turned to me and said, you are ruining this for me. And I was like, I don't care. Don't ever do that. So those shows, I love all of that. I love all of it. But when they first came out, boy, some of the stuff they were doing was like, somebody ought to be inspecting those kitchens. My poor sister, she put up with so much. Hilarious. Okay, so this is just my regular icing bowl. I did these on parchment. This is Zenloji parchment. These are not fragile, you guys. I piped a whole bunch of these. I did them like an hour and a half ago. They're not totally dry, so I'm just going to shake it above here and let the ones that are dry come off because I want you to see that they're not fragile at all. Like these are still wet. They really need to set up overnight, and then when I do this in the morning, they're all just going to come crashing off into the bowl. But now the smaller ones are dry enough that they're just flaking right off the paper. But I need to do this before I move it because I need to stack them. Get them out of the way. All right, so these were the loose ones that I piped, these itty bitty pieces. So let me tell you something about piping these little roses. I call these cabbage roses. I don't really know if they have a specific name, but that's what I call them, and my customers know this little look is what I call cabbage roses, and these are just stardust, like extra little pieces to add on the side. I know you guys are laughing too. It is funny. It's funny, the things that happen when we watch this stuff. Hello, Miss Debbie. How are you tonight? Okay, so I want to encourage you to start practicing these. You need a really, really thick royal icing to do these, like 35 seconds. It's really even beyond that, but you can get by with the 35-second. But basically, when you're mixing your icing, watch one of the previous videos where we do the thick icing and I show you consistency, because you need to add powdered sugar and mix it until it's totally matte. There can be no shine no satin finish in your wet icing. You need to get to that point and then bag in small quantities because it's going to be much harder to pipe it because it's so thick. But you need it to get to a point where there's no shine left in it, and basically you don't want it to move at all. Like if you scoop that spatula and pick it up, you can hold it. What's that company? Was it Wendy's, where they used to put your Frosty in a glass and then turn it upside down to show you that it wouldn't move? That's basically, you want to be there. But what I wanted to tell you was some people are extremely, even if they're right-handed, they actually pipe better as if they were using their right hand as a left-handed person were. So I want to encourage you to practice. Go ahead and get some thick icing set up. Keep them small because you want them to obviously be scaled to fit a cookie. Yeah, the Dairy Queen Blizzard, Barbie, that's what it was, where they'd make it, put the thing in it, flip it over. That's it. You want it to be thick, okay? So pipe like you would pipe normally, where you start in the center and you go clockwise if you're right-handed. So pipe that way. That's what these are, okay? That's what these are. But then I want to encourage you to practice counterclockwise, okay? So start and then go counterclockwise because you get two very different looks. And what you're going to find is you might be really good at piping clockwise and you didn't realize it because you just think, I'm right-handed, I have to do it like I would do a cupcake or something, right? So try it both ways. And then, so this is counterclockwise piping, right? I started here, went counterclockwise, and then this is a double stack, which makes a totally different, I don't want to pull them up because they're still too soft. Let me see if I can get it to focus if I lift it. But this is a double stack, which gives you an entirely different looking flower. And then this is a counterclockwise cabbage rose, right? So these are just ones, you can pipe a whole bunch of these ahead of time and do them on parchment. So I did these to just kind of check the icing. And I have them in ivory, I have them in pink, I have them in rose red, and I have them in turquoise. And I did some in mint earlier because I haven't landed on whether we're doing specifically mint or whether we're going to do some turquoise in our kit. I'm not sure yet, but the kits, all the kits info will be finalized by Friday so that I can do a video for you on Friday to show you what's in the boxes, and they're going to go up for sale on Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so set your alarms. And I see the question about the tip, and I was looking for it because I cleaned it and then brought it back in here. This is a Wilton 18. Let me lift it and see if it'll refocus. Can you see that? It's a Wilton 18, and it's the teeny tiny star tip. So if you're making really big cookies, you can do a couple different sizes in the star tips, and they'll be totally different looking flowers. Deborah is asking, when you say double stack, you piped on. I double stacked means I went counterclockwise all the way around, and instead of just snapping it off like I would do on a rose, I came into the center and went up more like I'd pipe a cupcake, because those give you a little bit of height, and they're really nice next to those larger flat cabbage roses. So I did these that I did ahead of time are with an 18, okay? And I like the 18. The 18 gives me a lot of nice ridges and detail. These are also really pretty if you want to do a whole bunch of ivory ones and then just have them ready to go stored somewhere. These are really easy to come back and hit with a little bit of airbrush color, because you've got a nice ivory base. So if a little bit of the ivory pops through, it's real pretty, but you can change them to be pink or red or blue or yellow really quickly without having to mix up a whole bunch of different icing. I hope that makes sense. Now I went ahead and mixed the icing because I already was making the icing to make the sample cookies for the Valentine kit. So I already had the colors mixed up. It was no big deal to thicken it, but if you wanted to just be prepared ahead of time, this took no time at all. Like 5 minutes, I piped all of these. Okay, so if you had your ivory icing ready to go, you could pipe away and do a whole bunch. Let them harden overnight. Okay, so right now we're gonna use a 101. This is a Wilton 101 tip, like a teardrop. I will tell you though, I did take a pair of pliers and I pushed it in. I made it even thinner. I like a thinner flower when I'm piping with the 101, or thinner petals. So I did use pliers to make, if it looks different to you, if it doesn't look as wide down here, it's because I adjusted the tip, and I do that on all of them. This is a 102, so it was also a teardrop shape, but this one I went really, really tight and tried to make it the same width all the way up. And so I'm going to show you what that does when you pipe with it. And my icing was only made up like an hour, hour and a half ago. So hopefully it's still thick enough that we don't have to stop and rebag anything. Also, all of those little cabbage roses and the little starlight pieces that I did, all of those, I just did my interchangeable bag so that I could use the same tip for all those colors, which is why on some of the sheets in the left corner, if you go back and look at the picture, they look like they're mixed colors. It's because the new color that I dropped in my sleeve just pushed out the original color. So I worked from light to dark. I worked ivory, then pink, then red, then turquoise. And we're going to do that now and try to do some toothpick roses. If the toothpick roses don't work, I have my flower nail. This is just a basic flower nail. I have it ready to go. So if my icing is not still thick enough that a toothpick rose will work, then we will switch to the other also. So I just have my bag and I have my 2 tips cut, and we'll be swapping the colors in and out of these 2 bags. These are the only ones we're going to do. We'll do some in all 4 colors and then move on, okay? I did want to tell you, though, I cut my own parchment squares because they're really more expensive if you order them already cut, the Wilton ones. So this is just a 2" by 2". And I'm going to show you a trick with toothpick roses that I can't remember where I learned this, but I did learn this from another cookier. So if you're on here and you remember specifically that you're the one that taught me this trick, I love this trick. I'm sure you've seen people pipe toothpick roses before, and they show you all these ways to like put the toothpicks in place so the flowers can stay and dry. Well, not long ago, maybe 2020, in the beginning of 2020, someone showed me how to pipe them like this. I have my parchment square cut. I pop the toothpick under from the bottom. I'm basically using it like it's a nail head. I want this to be kind of towards the top because I don't want it to be, I don't want to be piping so far down on the toothpick, right? But then wait until you see how wonderful this is so that you don't have to come up with all those creative ways to store the toothpick rose while it dries. And let's hope this works because I'm not sure my icing is still going to be thick enough this much later. And also, I don't know about this bag for doing heavy piping. It's a bag I have around that I'm trying, so we're going to see what it does too. Have some paper towels. A paper towel to wipe the tip because you'll need to wipe the tip frequently. And then have a paper towel. This is just my spray bottle that I thin icing with. It's got distilled water. It's only used for food, little handheld. Keep this to the side so when you set your bag down, you can just cover it with this, and the moisture should keep your tip from freezing up on you so that you won't have to clean it so often, okay? I'm going to keep this paper towel here and just, let me see if it's coming through enough. I want to make sure that I didn't squeeze this too tight when I closed it because it was a new tip. So I'm checking it just to make sure it's fully coming out, and it is not all the way down. So we're going to switch and go to the other tip, the one that I did not close as much. I figured it might be like that. Oh my goodness. Hold on. There we go. All right, so I'm just dropping this in. The reason I like to do this is because the bag with the icing just slides right into this tip, so I can just keep interchanging this bag and not have to have 4 different bags set up. So for the toothpick roses, I'm holding my finger underneath the parchment just to hold it up to where the level I want it to be. And let me check again. Yep, coming fully out on this one. It feels good. It doesn't feel like it's too hot. And what I'm going to do is just put some icing on the center. Nothing fancy. Okay, that's it. Then with the large part of the teardrop down and the tip perpendicular, perpendicular to the parchment. We're going to attach it and go up and down. But there are people that pipe these way better than me. So if you don't like the way I do it, I am not going to be offended. This is just what works for me. And I am rotating my flower clockwise. But in a minute, you'll see a time that it's okay to rotate it counterclockwise. And obviously, if you're left-handed, you're just flipping all of this. Now I'm going to come back to the center of one of those U's that I made. And I'm going to down. Can you see what that did? Where it goes over the open area from the ones before. And now I'm going to keep doing that all the way around the rose. I'm just going to go back halfway. Now this rose is already getting bigger than what I really intended for it to be. But I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around. So the icing's good. You can see it's matte. It's not glossy at all. There's no shine. I'm going to attempt to turn this sideways. You can see I've got a pretty nice rose there. It's about 1/4 inch tall. I've got frilly ruffles on the side. Now look, used to you would just try to find some foam to put this in or a drying rack. But look, you literally just slide the toothpick out. And now you can set this down. And I love piping white and ivory and gold colored gold. Now look, I'm just barely piercing the paper and I'm using the same toothpick. You don't need 100 toothpicks to do this because we're pulling it out to push the flower up, okay? I love piping in the lighter colors because once I discovered, and this, guys, look, seriously, not fancy. Just get some icing on that middle part and then start you're making an upright or an upside down U. And 3 of them usually starts it, and then go back and start joining the middles as you go around the flower. Okay. Now I can tell you this icing's a little thicker than I like, and I might switch to the flower nail head just so you can see that in a minute. But this is just up and down. And in a second, I'm going to do some small ones. Now, if you want a larger rose, you want to turn your bag to a 45-degree angle. And it's usually for right-handed people easier to start this direction. And what you're going to do is you're running almost parallel to the paper below, right? And spinning and going back a little bit further back than the leaf before. You're at an angle. And what it does is it makes your rose look like your rose is really opening up. Now, another tip, just a handy tip. I am going to switch to the petal, though, because I want to show you something. But another handy tip is to have just a little bit of water off to the side and a damp paintbrush. A fine tip usually works great. In any of these areas where you can see light, where I really fanned that rose out, I'm just going to put my paintbrush underneath there, my food safe Wilton paintbrush, and lift it till it connects to the icing above it. Right? Because we want this to be strong. And then I'm going to put my fingers here and I'm going to lift the whole rose out. Okay. If you have any tails, you can just use your little brush. And I'm talking barely damp, you guys. You just want it to pull out. Another fun thing to do with these are really fun if you have little nonpareils. Either colored ones or white ones you want to paint gold or white ones you've turned gold. Just a few nonpareils in the center. If you don't feel like going back to hand pipe the little areas in the center of the flower, or you have a specific shower colors or wedding colors that you're trying to match, you can just go back and sprinkle a few of the little nonpareils to make the center of your flower. And you can see my icing's already getting a little warm in my hand. It's a little loose in the center there. So I'm going to switch to another color. But the great thing about doing it this way is you can switch back and forth because you have a sleeve. So you don't have to worry about the tip freezing up. And I'm going to switch. I was going to switch anyway, but I want you to see this because now the tip down from here down is full of ivory colored icing. So when I do the center of the next flower, the center should be ivory and then it'll switch over to pink. And my pink is still a little bit thicker, I think. So we might be able to go a little longer with the pink before we have to switch again. So let me just purge that just the tiniest bit to get to a smooth surface. And how do you feel? Let me go ahead and switch to the nail head. Do you want me to go to the nail head, or do you want to try a few more toothpick? Maybe we should do another toothpick before I switch. Because once I switch, then it's going to have Royal Icing grit on the flower head to hold the paper in place. And so I don't want it to get all gross and dry. So I usually hold 3 fingers up, 2 fingers under, so I can keep my hand steadied. I'm also resting my elbows on the table just so that my hands are steady for you on camera. Now, can you see how it's ivory and pink? So I've got my center. I just did a really basic squiggly center, and now I'm going to start doing my up and down, my U shape. I'm overlapping. I'm going back halfway after each petal, after each piping. Okay, well, let's keep this one small. I'm going to use my damp brush, and I'm just going to tuck in these little pieces. You can do a lot of these in a short amount of time. So can you see how that's cream in the center, but then we got pink and we have this nice flare out? Then fingers underneath, just literally, right? Slide in like this around the toothpick, pick straight up. You can use the same toothpick again, set this down, let it dry. Okay? Rather than doing 100 of these on toothpick and needing a rack to dry them on and all of that, this is so much faster. So just a little bit in the center. I'm basically just making, can you see that? See if it'll focus. You have to almost block everything else underneath it when you zoom in like this. So let me see. Maybe it'll do it. Who knows? But then if I get it to focus, it may not unfocus. But can you see how it's about a 1/4 inch tall, and it's just a bunch of squiggles around the center. That's all I'm doing there. And then underneath, I'm keeping my thumb and my first finger to support the weight of the flower so it doesn't start sinking down. And I'm twirling. So I'm going to go up and down, making a U. My icing has to be stiff enough to stand up. You see the U, the sideways, the upside down U, and then up and down. Because I thinned out my tip, do you see how I have those super soft petal edges, right? They're very thin. Okay, now I'm going to come halfway back in that U, up and down, up and down, up and down. You see? This one's done. So fingers under, I'm going to lift it up. I do see one thing, as soon as I pulled it off the nail, I see one area I need to tuck in. So I'm going to show you this too. If you want to take any away from the bottom, now's the time to do it by just going around it. But isn't that a cute little rose? See it? So let's set this one here. Yeah, Terry wants to see how I'm holding the bag again. So let's do that again. I'm going to stick with the toothpick, because I think that if you guys learn how to do this, it'll save you a ton of time. You can do trays and trays. Now, you may have to switch your bags often, even if you're only going to pipe pink or pipe ivory, even if you're only going to do one color, whatever color it is, make multiple bags, because when this starts to heat up, your icing is going to get too loose, and it's going to end up coming back like this one. Do you see this one where it got too hot too quick? And so it's very loose in the center. So it doesn't have the kind of lifted definition like these do. So just have multiple bags ready to go, especially if you have hot hands like I do. That way you can just pop, as soon as you see it start to get weird, you can pop the bag out and grab another one. So 3 horseshoes usually get you around, right? And they're locking petal to petal. You see that? Then go back halfway, up and down, halfway, up and down, up and down. And then remember, if you want to make a larger flower, just instead of being at a 90-degree angle to your parchment paper, flip it to a 45. Okay. And then join it and come around. It's okay if it goes flat to the paper. because it's going to need to go flat to the paper because you're just trying to make it look like it's a larger flower. Okay? But the reason this is nice to do it this way is because it doesn't really add overwhelming amounts of royal icing to your cookie when you fan it out if you want to make a bigger flower. Can you see what I mean? Like it's still not a ton of royal icing. So if you have these gaps, just the damp brush and just kind of tuck the icing in. That's all you need to do is get it under the petal that's in front of it. And that closes the hole up. So I think a lot of people, you get too fussy with your flowers. They're not meant to be perfect, right? Can you see that though? And you see how turning it at that 45, how I got that whole extra layer, but without adding a ton of icing. Okay, so let's do hand position on the bag again. If you have trouble with this and this works for you, please use it. Again, there's a million ways to do this. This is just what I have found works for me. So some squiggles on the center here, just enough to cover the toothpick, and it's almost like a rosebud. I could pull this off right now and have these beautiful little rosebuds if I wanted to, but I'll show you in just a minute how to just pipe them straight on the parchment. You don't actually need the toothpick to do it. All right, so up and down. Now I have pinky on this side with my thumb and 3 fingers there, and that's probably just something I learned to do so that I could control the icing coming out and control the angle of my bag, and anchoring my elbows on the table keeps my arms from shaking when I'm doing these because it's late and it's thicker icing. So up and down, I want that beautiful thin edge. So the bottom of the teardrop is down, the thin part of the teardrop is up. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and go at a 45, and then I'm going to work in this direction. This is where I switch and go counterclockwise. I want overlapping petals, but to be at a 45, me personally, I have to work counterclockwise, or I just drag it through the icing, right? I drag it through the petals that are already there. So just taking my damp brush, going underneath, I just need that icing to adhere to each other. And then you see if I get stuck, I just spin it and pull it out so it doesn't damage the overall look of the flower. Can you see that? And I'm still keeping those nice, oops, you can't see that. Okay, sorry about that. Let me do it again. Go in just to where you're lifting up those extra large wide petals and twist in there to remove the brush. Okay, and you still have these very dainty, delicate edges. All right, like that. I don't know why I can't get this in the right spot tonight. Can you see? And then off the toothpick. So we've got several really nice ones. Now do 3 or 4 and then check for this, okay? If you pipe it and it's sitting there and it gets this really wet look in the center and you've lost all your definition, you just need to stop and rebag. You need to add a little bit more powdered sugar, remix it, and then rebag it, because there's no point in doing all of this and then 5 minutes later all your flowers have melted together, right? So my pink is looking really good. Let's look at our pink, okay? The pink looks good. We've got nice edges. It's very matte in finish. It's not melting together. You see it? Okay. But this one, after doing 4 or 5, it's getting hot in my hand. You see how it's starting to get that wet look in the center? So what I'm going to try to do is just drop a few nonpareils in the center. Sometimes that will be enough to save it, but if not, I would have to stop and rebag right now. Okay, there's no point in continuing. I'm going to switch to a different color and the next color that was thinner. And also, I probably should have just jumped on here at 5 o'clock when I made the initial batches of icing, when the icing was perfect, to show you, because I thought, oh, if I don't do this right away, I'm going to have to rebag. So I am going through my bags faster than I intended to. But by the time we get to the turquoise color, it's super thick. It was so thick earlier, I almost couldn't pipe it. So I feel like we'll be okay. All right, let's go back. Let's do 2 more toothpick and then we'll switch to the nail head, but I'll have to cut a couple more parchment sheets, okay? So just squigglies to cover the toothpick, makes like a little rose head. and then up and down. And you see my icing is so thick that it's very clean, so it's breaking off easy, which is keeping me from having to stop and clean. Although the damp paper towel off to the side, I usually just do a right swipe and a left swipe on the bag, and then it's clean again. See what I mean? Now, if you want to try to pipe the other direction, you can. Oops, something is stuck in there. Hold on one second. Just lay that to its side. Now, usually, guys, I just spray this, but I don't want to get too much water in here, and I have a clump of undissolved sugar right there, so I'm just really carefully working that out of the tip. Hopefully, that's all it is. Is my bag too far down in there? Let's see. Hold on one second. It could be that my bag is too far down in. No, probably not that. I think I just have an undissolved piece of sugar in here. I'll just spray the tip in a second. If it gets clumped, though, let me show you an easy way to fix it. Just spray water directly on the tip, and usually it'll dissolve what's at the end of the tip really fast. And then use your damp paper towel to just wipe it off. And that really should be all it takes. I'm not given to doing this often, but right now there's literally a physical chunk of sugar stuck right there. You see it? Where I didn't stir it well enough. So I'm very carefully doing this so I don't make any grooves or notches in my tip. Although on this tip, not that big a deal, but since I closed it up, it's really tight. Since I made it tighter with the pliers earlier. All right. I think we're almost there. Yeah, that should be okay. All right, now the center's pink because we were using pink, but then we switched to red. It's pink that's still stuck in there, you guys. Let me see. Let's pull this up. I really wanted to show you the two colors together, but I think I just have to give this a good squeeze and completely purge it. Yeah, I think we're better like that. Okay, let's try this again. This might be too thick. We may have to start this one over. I like really thin edges when I do these. So if it's too thick, I'll generally just put it into my kitchen sink bucket. Do you guys keep that? Like I have a little bowl over here that when I don't like the flowers, I scrape them into that and I turn it into black icing. Do you guys do that? That way I don't stress about wasting icing. All right. So we're going to do that with this one because I don't like how thick the red is. Hey, what you doing, kid? Hey. So just keep a bowl handy off to the side and just put it in there. Literally, I just put it in like that because when it dries, or when I want to keep it kind of sealed so that I can do a whole bunch of flowers, and that way it won't dry before I get time to scrape it. All right, so let's move that over. Let's see about, let's use our nail. I need to cut some more parchment though. That's what I said I was going to do. Let's cut a couple more sheets of this. But these are nice, easy ones. You can practice, okay? These are not hard. This is just 5" by 5", or might be 4" by 4". Zinlogi parchment. It's what I use whenever I'm online, and then I just cut it into squares. Just cut this into quarters. They don't have to be perfect. But let's switch to the nail head so I can show you that. But I do think I want to switch to the turquoise icing. I think it would be neat for you guys to see the turquoise and the red together. Let me get all of that out. I debated before I started if I was going to set up a couple extra backup bags So I guess I should have set up a couple extra backup bags. This red is just really, it's gotten way too loose in the last hour. Do you guys have trouble with red? Red always gets too loose on me too fast. All right, let's see what happens with our turquoise. I want you to see this one. I don't think I'd actually make red and turquoise flowers, but I do think it's a great way to show you what happens with the colors when they're coming out. You want to do another toothpick? I really like the toothpick. It's so much cleaner. All right, so this is the turquoise and the red together, up and down, making a little bulb in the center. Can you see the turquoise and the red together? Right? So plan your colors. It's great when you're doing pansies in the springtime to mix purple and yellow, right? But maybe this is not the most beautiful flower. Can you see what I mean? Because the red kind of thins down to a pink, and it just, you really are going to have to do some dry dusting or airbrushing to make this look right. I mean, it's pretty. It just doesn't look like a real flower would. It's not a normal color combination, a normal color palette. All right, so see, this one's nice. Icing's nice and thick. And then you just want to go as fast as you can once you start practicing. Oh, and the other thing I was going to show you, you can just make the centers of the roses. If you're going to have like little accent ones, or you want to make some sideways ones, just hold the parchment. I usually put it between two fingers and have my thumb to anchor. And then on your paper at a 90, anchor it down, come over and wrap around. So we have sideways, so you can just let these dry, and then you can put them down on a cookie, right? So it looks more like you're looking at a side profile rather than a bird's eye view. But you can do a whole bunch of these really quickly and have that cool center. Use your little paintbrush to tuck in the edges if you don't like the edges. So we've got 4 little accent pieces right there done. Something else that's fun to do with this, get used to this for summertime, because this is the perfect tip to pipe coral. If you just do a back and forth, you can make these beautiful ribbon sections. You see that? So great for summertime. I mean, while you have your stuff out and you're practicing, practice a couple of things. We don't need it for cookies we're working on in the next few days, but it's fun. So flower nail head, 2-sided tape is what I would normally use, but I don't have any here in the cookie studio. So I'm just going to put a little bit of icing on there. The reason I used the 2-sided tape is so I didn't have to worry about these going right onto a tray, because I'm working on my workspace. But I'm rotating this between my fingers. I like the flower nail or flower peg because it provides even support for 1 1/4 inches across, the one that I use. I like that. So I don't have to worry about it sliding down, but there is a time and a place for the little cute toothpick roses. So just a little center, make that little center area. That's it. Okay. Then remember 3 upside down U's. They're connecting petal to petal. There's no overlap there. Okay. You're just connecting the 3 to make your center. You see those? Then go back halfway to make your next row so that they're offset, and then just keep working where they're offset. And it's just upside down U shapes working perpendicular. Your tip is a, what did I say this was, a 10? This is a Wilton 101. Okay. If you want to keep your flowers more upright, you can. If you need to touch them up, just a damp pointy paintbrush, food safe brush. Now I'm going to be working with a counterclockwise spin and doing that last fanned out petal to make this look like a larger rose, right? Without having to add a ton of icing. And I'm just going backwards and overlapping by half a petal. Oops, set that right down in the icing. Then I'm going to work my brush off on the damp paper towel there. And I'm just going to connect, go in here, connect. I'm spinning and just pushing it up towards the petal that was above it, because I just need it to adhere enough that it becomes stable and so there's no gap. Can you guys see that? Okay, then that little guy's done. If you want to get fancy, get your diamond dust out. You can hit all of these with a little bit of diamond dust and spritz them up another level, okay? Let's do a couple more of the turquoise, and then that's going to be it for tonight because it is almost 8 o'clock. Time flies, doesn't it? So teardrop shape down. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off again so you can see it a little cleaner for these last couple. And it's going to dry faster if, oh, sorry, baby. Sorry, Pen. She came to see me and I just tapped her with my toe. She doesn't like being tapped when she's almost asleep. Anyway, so teardrop shape, the larger, the wider end of the teardrop shape down, 90-degree angle. Just a couple little quick things in the center to make your centerpiece. Again, see, this one's not perfect. It fell over. It's not going to matter. You're just putting volume in there for a base. Up and down. Up and down. Try to get 3 adjoining. That's my best tip for you for the center. You see that? Then go back to the middle and do middle to middle. Upside down U's, middle to middle. Okay. And I like to turn this a little bit to the side. When I'm piping them, I'm not on camera. I'm trying to hold it like this so you can see what it looks like. But when I'm actually piping them, I'm piping like this so I can see from the side what I'm doing. And also because that helps me make sure I'm underneath the petals that I'm piping to connect. I'm underneath them. I don't want to be on top of them and mess up that cool little feathery edge. So piping that icing underneath pushes that edge up, and so you get this really cool look. Okay. And then you could put white pearls in the center, you know, whatever you feel like you want to do. Also, you could fill your bag half pink, half red. That makes beautiful springtime roses. Now, because this has a little icing, usually what I do is just put a little on it and then I tap it down onto my stack of paper so that I don't have to keep setting the icing bag down. But that's more of a speed volume trick. You don't have to do that. These are a lot of fun to pipe, though, you guys, once you get into a rhythm and your icing is right. And my goodness, if your icing is right, just keep going till you run out of icing. Especially if you're piping white or ivory or gold, things you know for sure you might airbrush. Just make as many as you can and make all different sizes. Right? And then put them up. I'm going to make a couple small ones. It's actually harder for me to do the smaller ones than it is to do the larger. Like I sometimes wish there was even smaller Wilton tips. So you just have to really stay focused and keep your loops really tight, and then only do one extra around. Okay, now tonight these are working out really well. I'm not picking up my paintbrush a lot, but don't forget, if you have these little tails, like this little area, your flower's not ruined. Just tuck it in. Okay, and let's talk about that, because once this is dry and then I transfer it to the cookie, there's going to be other smaller flowers on either side of it, or I'm going to go in there with a leaf tip and I'm going to be piping leaves, which is going to be like the final attachment to secure it to the cookie, right? Like you'll put a little icing under this and put it down in place, but then you're going to add some other royal icing and that's going to help secure it. So don't get all crazy about what the side looks like. I think a lot of you like start obsessing about that and you're not going to see it. So don't worry about that. Okay, so now what we're going to have when we get all this done is we're going to have these different combinations of these flowers. Let's pull this out of the way. We're going to have these different combinations of these flowers all done in the same color scheme, but we're going to have different styles to put next to each other, right? So we're going to have, we can mix these. We're going to have like the roses, or we've got baby cabbage roses, but then you can do all of these ahead of time, especially if wedding season's coming. Okay, so when you do, Mary Jane's asking, when you do two-tone, do you put the lighter color at the thinner edge of the tip? So that would look more like the flowers look in nature, but honestly, when I mix the colors, I don't really care. They come out beautiful as long as my colors go together. Like I'm not thrilled with this because I don't like these colors mixed. I don't like red and turquoise mixed, but this will be pretty on one of the cookies that we're doing for Valentine's Day. So if you do mix them, it's fine. But I would prefer 2 tones of pink or even 3 shades of pink to do an ombre. Um, and I like this. This I really like, Mary Jean, where the center is light and then the outer edges are dark. So if you want to do that, just have 2 bags of icing going with the same tip and make your bulb in the center with the light color and then come back with your darker shade. And then if you wanted to have a 3rd bag with hot pink, come back and do your outer in hot pink. That's beautiful too. Okay, so now I left this here so you guys could see it. This is one of the ones that I said we'd try with the nonpareil. But look, can you see how that just absolutely, you can't even tell anymore that it has those beautiful leaves because the ivory just got too hot and got soupy. So there you go. That's what you don't want to keep, right? So yeah, for Cactus Deborah, that will be beautiful. And that's what I was thinking. And this looks like a succulent. Now, look at this. If this happens to you, do you see this right here? It wasn't that shiny when I piped it, but you see now that turquoise has gotten hot. That was the last one I did. It's gotten hot, which has caused the water to start to congregate together. So after I piped it, that center part is it's too loose. So all of these I would stop now, and it's probably because they were bagged an hour and a half ago. Well, now 2.5 hours ago, right? We're almost an hour into this. So right now I would just stop and I'd add at least another 2 tablespoons to one of these bags of icing, right? Like half full, I'd add at least another 2. I'd stir it until it really, for me, perfect is when I almost can't stir it anymore. Like I like it that thick to pipe with, even though it's difficult. So I just bag it in smaller bags so that I don't hurt my hand. But when it's that dry, then I don't have to worry about any of these kind of issues. But these are so much fun to make ahead of time. White and ivory and light pink, a gold made ahead of time. Beautiful. Allison, for me, a colder room would not help the issue because the issue is that my hands are super hot, which is why I like Hot Hands chocolate, working with that because I can work with modeling chocolate longer. But I just have really hot hands. Some people don't, and it's not going to affect you at all. You'll be fine. But I know that I have really hot hands, so I have to do things to compensate for that, like have multiple bags of the same shade of icing going at the same time. I have to make mine even thicker. I have to pipe really fast. When I want to do a bunch of these, like nothing else is going on. I just sit down and I pipe as fast as I can. It's like I just want to get through that bag of icing within just a minute or 2. Like I'm seriously, I'm going like a whole, I would finish a full, a full-size thick bag like this. I would want to use the whole bag, one setting, one shot, go quick, and I would have it done in 3 to 4 minutes, right? Cold rooms, I guess, might help them to set up faster and not add any additional heat to them, but it won't help for what causes my issue, which is that the palms of my hands are very hot. You know, you would think that would mean something fantastic, but I'm not aware of any old wives' tale that goes with having hot hands, so I can't tell you anything great about that. I just know it makes it difficult to pipe flowers. All right, so that's our little tutorial for tonight. Thank you for joining in. I'm going to try to be on again. It won't be tomorrow because one of my pups is having some surgery tomorrow, but Thursday I'm going to try to pop back on and show you these combined with some cookies that I just basic shapes. I have these 2 basic shapes that I went ahead and flooded because I want to show you how to put these together and then use the, hey Laura, how are you? How to use the icing to make your stems and your leaves so that it's just quick when you attach them, because it will be great for your gnome and fairy cookies, for Mother's Day, for florals, for Valentine's Day. These are all really, really fun. And I want to show you how you can do a little bit of line drawing to increase the size of your flower to make your flower have even more pop once it hits the cookies. So I'm going to re-thicken all of this icing and then pipe until I run out so that we have a lot of flowers to choose from. But hopefully I will be seeing you on Thursday evening for just a bonus tutorial. I have to be home with my pup since she's just having surgery. I got to be home with her for a few days. So hoping all of that goes well tomorrow, because I'm sure I'll be a nervous wreck all day because I take her at 8:30, but I can't pick her up until 4 in the afternoon. And really in her whole life, she's only ever been away from me for like 1 day, and she's 15. So I don't know. She won't even probably realize she's gone because she has to be sedated, but you know, I'm a pup mom and I'll be super nervous about it. You know what I mean? So I will try to pop on Thursday to do a little bit more with you. And this time I've decided I am going to give you a preview of all of the Valentine cookies that we're doing. And I'm going to give that preview to you before the boxes release. I hope I'm not going to regret it. I hope that they're not going to show up somewhere else or someone's going to make them too early. But I just have really enjoyed making the sample cookies for the set that we're doing. And I think it might help you to understand. We have a lot of new people that have joined us recently, and I think it might help everybody to understand how the things that come in the boxes then get used in class. Now, you can purchase all of these things separately, but there's such a deal when I put them together for you. You save tons of money. So I'm going to do that too. And anything else? Y'all, I think that's it. And I posted finished pictures of the remembrance cookies. I posted those earlier, so you guys, if you want to add anything to the post, please do that. And I will see you all on Thursday. I'll probably put a post up tomorrow when Anna gets home. Hopefully all's going to go well. I've waited to do several things that she needed to have done because she's my little one that has seizures. And so the vets have that she sees have always said, let's just wait as long as possible to do these things. Well, now we have 2 to 3 things that have to be done tomorrow. So hopefully it'll just be a 1 surgery thing and she'll be all set, because otherwise she's like healthy as like a little puppy. So maybe I'll get another 15 or 20 years with her. I know that's really stretching it, but it sure would be nice. Sure would be nice. All right, you guys, thank you. Thank you for coming back tonight. Message me if you need anything, and we're going to be hitting Valentine design ideas on basic cookie shapes. So if you're baking cookies this week, go ahead and maybe do up a couple rounds, maybe a couple of squares, hexagon if you're a hexagon person, and just have those ready to go. Really, you could even bake them and flood ice them in white for the next 2 weeks for the things that we're going to be doing. You could just get them baked, flood ice them, and pop them in the freezer if you want to, okay? And we're just going to be doing different designs on the cookie using things like royal icing transfers. Not all florals, though, okay? Because I'm going to have royal icing transfers for sale in the coffee shop, and a couple of the days I'm going to demo how to make the royal icing transfers. Okay, so I think that's it. Y'all have a great night. Thank you for joining me again. It was fun spending time with you. And I hope you have a wonderful, Maritza, how many? I don't know, maybe 3 to 4 of each would get you through the next 2 weeks. That way you would have plenty to practice on too. I think that would be good. And that'll help. The reason I like for you to do that is because that helps you then design your own cookies for pre-sales for the different holidays. Okay, so having a few lets you test your boundaries on a couple and then create a final one you can photograph. So that's why I like to have 3 or 4 around, but you don't need that many. You could just make it and scrape it and make it and scrape it if you wanted to, but I like to actually look at them, let them dry, see where there's going to be production problems, things that might cause issues, ways I can improve something or make it faster, and then make one final one that I can then photograph for pre-sale. All right, one final of each design. I hope that makes sense. All right, you guys have a great night. Bye.